What's going on, guys? What's going on, Tech Squad? What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? So the Browns beat the Baltimore Ravens 29-24, and this is a good win. This is definitely a good win for Browns fans. For Browns fans like myself, this is a good win. A good win, and we did start Jameis. We did start Jameis. And Jameis hasn't had a start since 2022. Jameis hasn't been a starting quarterback since 2022. And we saw Tillman step up. We saw Moore step up. We saw Moore step up. We saw Judy step up. We saw Joku step up. Now, I think with the Browns winning this game, they definitely turned things around. They definitely turned things around, in my opinion, because coming into this game, the Browns were 1-7. The Browns were 1-6. 1-6. The Browns were 1-6. And you don't want to lose. And the Browns didn't want to lose this game and going into against the Chargers. Going into this game, the Browns didn't want to lose this game because you know you're going to face the Chargers next week. And I'll get back into this Ravens Browns game. Now, I know that we didn't get to see watching. Nick Chubb had a better game this game. I think with the Browns switching the calling to Ken Dorsey for Kevin Stefanski, not calling this game, I think it was very interesting because Ken Dorsey, the last time he called plays for a game was for Josh Allen in the Buffalo Bills. That was the last time he called plays. Called plays. And I definitely think when we look at this win for the Browns, this was a statement win because when you're going against a 5-3 team in the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson is having like another MVP season. And Baltimore was banged up coming into this. And I'm just going to say this is that I think with the Browns beating the Baltimore Ravens, they have one more time to face them, to face the Baltimore Ravens, to face the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. This was a close game because the Browns haven't put up either 6 or 7 points in this. 20 or more points in this game. The Browns haven't put up 20 or more in a game this season. And that's what the Browns did against Baltimore. Now, if there was a change like this, if the Browns definitely went to Jameis early and there was a coaching change as well for Ken Dorsey to call the plays, because I think switching the coaching and letting Ken Dorsey call the plays was a good decision by Ken Stefanski, because Ken Stefanski is a two-time head coach. Ken Stefanski is a two-time head coach. And I think that was the biggest decision that the Browns had to make. And that that the coaching staff and Ken Stefanski had to make. And I think when we look at it, we could say that if they went to the coaching changes, if they did this earlier, the Browns' record would be different. The Browns' record would be different because it still seems like when we had Deshaun there. Let me just get the elephant out of the room. When we had Deshaun there at quarterback, he basically, I think we had I had some of the booing like against the Cowboys when some Browns fans booed the Browns against the Cowboys, and then um some Browns fans cheering when Deshaun Watson went down. I think if Ken Dorsey was calling the plays than Ken Stefanski, I think we would have a different record because then if we had Deshaun there, I think Ken Dorsey and Ken Dorsey would have a chance to work with Deshaun Watson. But Jameis did do a good job. Like Jameis threw for 200 or 300 yards. And here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about that. We seen, I think Dort, I think Ken Dorsey went back to when they called the plays for Joe Flacco, when they called the plays for Joe Flacco, for Keenum, for Joe Flacco, for Baker. Like I definitely think you haven't like if this was different. I think the Browns just haven't built the right team over didn't build the right team over for didn't build the right team for a new offensive line, and the defense shows up and your offense shows up against Baltimore. I do think Jameis is more of a leader, and I'm just going to say this. I hope we keep Jameis at the end of the season. I hope we sign Jameis back because I think with him getting another chance since 2022 when he was with the Saints, because when he was with Tampa Bay moved on from Jameis to go with Tom Brady, and I'm just going to say this. I think the Browns should keep Jameis. It's only right to keep him at quarterback because these teams some of these teams now don't have film on Jameis. Like the Browns really didn't have Amari Cooper. Like Amari Cooper wasn't playing that good this season. Like I think if Deshaun Watson was on the same page as if Deshaun Watson was on the same page with the offense, like Ajoku, like Tillman, like Moore, if he was on the same page, let me just get the elephant out of the room again. I'm not talking bad about Deshaun, or Amari Cooper, but I am going to say this. The Browns were very interesting because there was a lot of drops this game. Like there was a lot of drops this game. Like we saw some injuries. There were a lot of drops this game on both sides. And like Tillman was one of the guys to step up. If Deshaun Watson did throw the ball to Tillman, this season would go totally different. This season would go on totally different. Would go on totally different. And when we look at the record with Deshaun Watson at quarterback and the record with him not at quarterback, our record with Deshaun Watson at quarterback is 4-10. With us using 4 or 5 different quarterbacks like Joe Flacco last year, Joe Flacco last year, Keenum the year before, PJ Washington, PJ Washington, Jameis this year, and RTR. Our records with different quarterbacks than Deshaun, without Deshaun, is 14-6 with different quarterbacks for the Browns. So this a Browns performance. Can they keep it going? I hope they can keep this Browns performance going because it would be very interesting to see. I would like to see the Browns. I think the Browns are turning their season around. And it's not like there was almost if the Ravens safety doesn't drop that pass, doesn't drop that almost interception by Jameis, it seems like Baltimore wins that game. But I know people who chose Baltimore to beat the Browns. I know whoever chose the Baltimore Ravens to beat the Browns, you're probably waking up today and saying to yourself, oh, the Browns are 2-6, about to play the Chargers this week, about to play the Chargers in week 9 before their bye week, because going into that bye week, you do not want to go 1-7. And I think, like I said before, without Deshaun Watson is a top 5, top 10 quarterback. But without Deshaun Watson, like we're 20-4 with other quarterbacks for the Browns, like Joe Flacco, Keenum a couple years ago, Case Keenum a couple years ago, Doris Robinson, and now Jameis. We're 20-3 or 14-3 without Deshaun, and 6-4-10 or something like that with Deshaun Watson at the quarterback position when he's starting. So that makes a big difference. Nick Chubb even had a good game. We saw Nick Chubb have a good game. Ken Dorsey, if we definitely went to this change early in the season, almost when we were like 1-4, almost like when we were 1-2, almost if we, almost before we were the record that the Browns have. If we had that type, if we had that type of, if we had like a 5-4 record right now, then a 2-6 record, and we made the change to Jameis as quarterback, and we made the change to the coaching and Ken Dorsey, because those plays that we ran, other teams now don't have film on Jameis because he hasn't started since 2022. And with Jameis, I'll give him a lot of credit. Because Jameis gave the Browns more energy. He gave us as Browns fans more excitement again. And he's a leader for that Browns locker room. I think he's a leader for that Browns locker room, and he was more motivated this season. He was more motivated this season than And I do think Jameis is going to start. But teams don't have film on the Browns offense that we saw, or on the Browns defense that we saw play yesterday, that we saw play against the Baltimore Ravens. And when you have a quarterback like Jameis that hasn't started since 2022 for the Saints, for the New Orleans Saints, Jameis got to learn from Drew Brees in New Orleans. Jameis got to learn from Drew Brees in New Orleans. And when Tampa moved on from Jameis to go to Tom Brady, and then Jameis went to the Saints and learned behind Drew Brees. Like his last start was in 2022, and he threw for 3 touchdowns, 200 or 300 yards. And when a backup quarterback throws like Jameis for the Browns, when he throws 300 or 200 yards in a game like that, against a 5-3 Baltimore Ravens team, a MVP caliber, when you're going against a 5-3 Baltimore Ravens team, and then MVP quarterback on the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar Jackson and Devin Henry on the Baltimore Ravens, and you throw for 300, 200 yards and have probably 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns, how many touchdowns he had, Jameis gave us more hope. He gave us more faith. He gave us more excitement for this Browns team, because some Browns fans were booing the Browns were booing the Browns. Let me get the elephant out of the room. Was booing the Browns was booing the Browns was not was booing the Browns, and I think from a Browns fan opinion, that is what I think with what all went on the few games, what happened the last few games is that the Browns weren't playing like the Browns they were playing in this game against the Baltimore Ravens. Because we lost to the Commanders. We lost to the Cowboys. We lost to the Commanders. We lost to the Cowboys. We beat Jacksonville. We beat Jacksonville. So yeah, we lost to the Cowboys. We lost to the Bengals. We lost to the Eagles. We lost to the Commanders. So with us only being the Jackson Jaguars this season and the Baltimore Ravens this season and losing to the Bengals, losing to the Browns, losing to the Bengals, losing to the Eagles, losing to the Commanders, losing to the Raiders, losing to the Giants, beating Jacksonville, and losing to the Cowboys. Like we only won one game out of those five losses, and we ended our 5 game losing streak. Because I think most basically, we did not want to go into our bye week, which is week 10. We did not want to go to our bye week 1-7 or 1-8 or 1-10. We did not want to do that. And the teams that we have to get ready for, are the Chargers, the Saints, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Steelers again, the Chiefs, the Bengals again, the Dolphins, the Baltimore Ravens. Like, we're 2-6 right now. And I think if we made that switch to Jameis earlier, we wouldn't be 2-6. But this was a good game by Baltimore because the Browns turned our season around. This Browns team that we saw in this Baltimore game, I wish showed up the entire season in week 1 against the Cowboys. Because now we're still looking at a first round draft pick in this NFL draft. But Jameis gave us more hope, more faith, more excitement for this Browns team. And the entire Browns team gave us more faith as well, and more hope, and more excitement. Because we were nervous. I think most Browns fans thought this season was over. this season was over. If it wasn't for the flags on the play against Baltimore, if it wasn't for the flag on the play that I think was on us, that flag should not been on us. I don't think. I think the flag should have been on the Ravens in the second quarter. But that's just my opinion. But here's what I gotta say to that. Is that I wish we made these changes earlier to Ken Dorsey calling the plays instead of Ken Stefanski. Even though Ken Stefanski is a two-time head coach. And this was his first time not calling the plays this season. I think if we made that change, this would be a whole different story. This would be a whole different football team. And we wouldn't be talking about, oh, the Browns season is over. Because honestly, now I don't think the Browns season is over. I don't think the Browns season is over. I think like we can change, like the Browns can turn their season around and change the way that the defense was, the offense was in the game, because catches went to Judy, went to Njoku, went to Moore. We didn't see that when Deshaun Watson was at quarterback. Because when Deshaun Watson was at quarterback, we didn't have Tillman. We didn't have Moore catching the ball like he did. We didn't have Tillman stepping up. We didn't have Moore stepping up. We didn't see Njoku get passes. We didn't have Nick Chubb. This entire Browns team that we saw was a different Browns team, and a different Browns team overall. And I hope that this Browns team, this defense, this offense that we saw win this 29-24 game, I hope that they show up against the Chargers, against the rest of the teams that we have to play, and win this football game. And win more football games. Because I think if we turn our season around, we could finish with probably a 6-8 record, or a 8-7 record, or a 8-7 record, or probably like a 9-7 record if the Browns can play the same defense that we saw. Because that defense and that offense was really good. And I think that Deshaun Watson, he could be like, this was the first time he was coming back from a shoulder injury, and then he got an Achilles injury. We do not know if Deshaun Watson, we would not know if Deshaun Watson was the starting quarterback and they made the switch to Ken Dorsey when Deshaun Watson was quarterback. I think we would have a different record. But guys, sub if you're new, and never give up your dreams. And I hope all of you guys are safe out there. And stay blessed, everybody. And peace.